Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
If you thought this off-season had already peaked, think again, because the Toronto Blue Jays have just kicked the door clean off its hinges and shouted their intentions into the winter night. This is one of those moments where the baseball world pauses, squints at the headlines, and mutters, "They wouldn't, would they?" And yet, here we are, with fresh reports, credible voices, and a growing sense that the Jays are not merely shopping at the top table, but trying to flip the whole table over. Before we go any further, do me a favor and tap that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and share this with any Jays fan who still thinks this front office is done for the winter, because what's unfolding right now is far bigger than it first appeared. There's a certain delicious irony in the timing of all this, because just as many fans were settling into the comfort of thinking the major moves were done, the rumor mill has roared back to life like it had something to prove. The signing of Kazuma Okamoto felt, to some, like the final flourish, the neat bow on an already impressive off-season. But baseball, much like Toronto in April, rarely behaves predictably. Behind the scenes, conversations never stopped, phones never cooled, and the Jays, it seems, have been quietly sharpening the knife for something much bigger. The name at the center of this storm, of course, is Kyle Tucker, a player who doesn't just improve your lineup but fundamentally changes the way opponents plan against you. What makes this moment different, and genuinely fascinating, is not just that the Blue Jays are still in the hunt, but that the interest is mutual. That detail matters more than any contract figure floating around the internet. When a player of Tucker's caliber is said to be just as intrigued by Toronto as Toronto is by him, the entire narrative shifts. This is no longer a hopeful chase, it's a dance, and both sides are still on the floor. One of the most significant aspects of this story is who is saying it. This isn't idle speculation or background noise from the lower tiers of reporting. When someone like Robert Murray speaks with confidence about the Jays remaining firmly in play, people in front offices listen. Murray has built a reputation not on drama but on accuracy, and his words carry weight precisely because he doesn't throw them around lightly. His belief that the Jays aren't done, and that Tucker's interest is genuine, sends a clear message that this pursuit has real substance. That revelation landed like a thunderclap across social media, because it was the first time the spotlight swung directly onto Tucker's perspective. Until now, most of the discussion had been framed around Toronto's ambition, their spending, their need. Suddenly, the player himself steps into the story, not in person, but through the words of trusted reporters, and the dynamic changes. This isn't a one-sided pitch. This is a conversation, and conversations can turn into agreements faster than anyone expects. Adding fuel to the fire are continued whispers that Toronto remains the favorite, even with heavyweights like the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers hovering in the background. Being labeled a favorite doesn't win you a press conference or a jersey reveal, but it does tell you who's doing the most convincing work behind closed doors. The Mets, armed with Steve Cohen's deep pockets, will always loom as a threat, yet even there, the suggestion is less about leading a bidding war and more about opportunistic patience, waiting to see if the market softens. And that's the quiet truth threading through all of this. If these elite free agents were getting exactly what they wanted, they wouldn't still be available. The market is blinking, hesitating, recalibrating, and the Jays appear perfectly comfortable playing the long game. They were among the first teams to sit down with Tucker, and they've never really left the room. That consistency speaks volumes about their intent and their confidence in what they're offering. The Okamoto signing, rather than closing doors, seems to have rearranged the furniture. It clarified certain paths while leaving others wide open. Reports suggest it likely takes Toronto out of the Alex Bregman conversation, but crucially, it doesn't eliminate the possibility of landing either Tucker or Bo Bichette. While the dream of signing both may be fading, the idea of pairing Okamoto with one elite bat remains very much alive, and that's a scenario most teams would envy. What's particularly intriguing is how the noise has shifted. As the days pass, the chatter around Bichette has grown quieter, while the drumbeat for Tucker has become louder, steadier, more confident. That doesn't mean one is impossible and the other inevitable, but it does suggest where the organization's focus might be sharpening. Toronto has already invested heavily in pitching, stabilized the bullpen, and addressed infield needs. One more impact bat would complete a picture that's already starting to look formidable. Of course, there's always a voice of caution, and in this case it comes from Ben Nicholson Smith, who reminds us that the Jays have already outspent everyone else, landing 4 of the top 15 free agents available. His suggestion that Toronto may prefer to lurk rather than lead another bidding war isn't pessimism, it's realism. Smart front offices know when to push and when to wait, and Tuesday's media session with Ross Atkins promises to shed more light on how aggressive the next phase might be. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the breakdown of those comments later. Still, even the possibility of restraint doesn't dampen the scale of what's already been achieved. This offseason has redefined the perception of the Blue Jays across the league. They are no longer a team hoping to surprise, they are a team expecting to contend. That shift in identity is powerful, and it's exactly the kind of environment that attracts players like Tucker, who want both opportunity and belief. If Tucker were to land in Toronto, the ripple effects would be enormous. The lineup suddenly stretches, the outfield aligns with purpose, and the pressure on players like George Springer becomes manageable rather than overwhelming. Okamoto at third base adds stability and intrigue, while younger players are slotted into roles that better suit their development. The roster starts to feel balanced, dangerous, and, crucially, adaptable over a long season. Even without another major addition, this team is strong. There are legitimate reasons for optimism across the diamond, from bounce-back candidates to emerging stars poised to take another leap. But baseball fans are dreamers by nature, and when you're told that a superstar not only fits your team but might actually want to be there, it's hard not to lean into the excitement. So here's the moment to pause, breathe it all in, and appreciate where the Blue Jays stand right now. This has already been an excellent off-season, one that would earn high marks even if nothing else happened. But the story isn't finished yet, and the final chapter could elevate it into something truly unforgettable. If you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, share it with fellow fans, and subscribe for daily updates as this saga continues to unfold. Whether the Jays land Kyle Tucker or not, the message has been sent loudly and clearly across Major League Baseball. Toronto is serious, Toronto is ambitious, and Toronto is no longer content with half measures. The Mo might hate what's coming, rival fans might scoff until it's too late, but the Blue Jays are writing their own script now. And if this is how the story ends, with belief turning into reality, it will be remembered as the winter everything changed.